Good afternoon, guys. Not sure who's all in here and who's not. Looks like my mic's turned off, or my headset's turned off. So let me just make sure I fix that so you guys can see my face. Is that all better? There we go. See, there's a few of you guys in here already. Sierra, wrong on that one homework question. So take a look at that when you get a chance, and then you can see, hopefully you'll see what you did wrong. If not, just email me back. Hey, what's going on, Javon? So let's see here. We're going into lesson number 8. Very confused on the Zoom thing. I'm just wondering if you know when all the teachers are going to start. So, Sierra, everything that I'm going to be doing is still going to be on Twitch. Everything I'll do is on Twitch. The only thing that you're going to be with this Zoom thing is it's going to be almost like an office hour where you can actually talk to your teacher, like it will connect and everything like that. You cannot do it on your iPad until they give you the app. So as of right now, don't worry about it. The only way you can connect is if you do it through your phone or if you do it with like your own personal computer. So if you show up to my office hour, which if you can, I don't know if you're working or not, but my office hour tomorrow is going to be from 12 to 1 because I have a meeting at 1 o'clock. So if you can get in at 12, I could show you how to connect and then you'll be good to go. Okay. Any other questions before I go into the lesson? Kind of delaying it just a little bit just so everybody has time to jump in. I'm checking the who's here right now. Yeah, I got a question. Is anybody electrical longboard? Just wondering. Because I saw them in chat earlier and I just wasn't sure if electrical longboard was anybody. Hey Shannon, hi. Hey Madeline, how you guys doing? Hey Tabitha. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Okay. Well, yeah, as far as Zoom goes, try to stop in during the office hours and I'll try to help out the best I can with you. The US teachers are starting to use it and I don't know. Yeah, Sierra, so if you were to stop on, I could show you. I might actually create a YouTube video of showing you guys how to do it as well. But as of right now, because you don't have it on your iPad, you can't do it. So I could show you. I could try connecting my phone and see if I could show you guys that way. I don't know. I'll do it later. I'll do it later tonight and I'll see if I can make a video and upload it for you guys. So then you'll know how to do it. My goal is to just go through the first page with you guys today. A lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing is very similar to what we just did in the Unit 7 lesson. But what I'm going to do is complex fractions is actually, we'll probably do this for the next like 4 or 5 days. Not because it's hard, but because I want to teach it slow enough where I don't want to overwhelm you guys and give you too much since we're doing everything online. So first of all, let's start off by just doing like a little warm-up question. This is solving square root functions is our warm-up. It says find the solution set. So when we are working with square roots, we just have to make sure that we know the inverse of a square root, which the inverse of a square root is really just a squared. So what I'm going to do to both sides of this equation is I am really just going to square both sides. Well, just remember, inverses mean that they're opposites of each other. So a square root and a squared really means they're just going to cancel out. So on the left side, we're going to be left with a 56 minus x. And on the right side, we're going to be left with an x squared. And then once we get here, then you guys just have to get that x squared all alone. Or I'm sorry, you have to get... I'm like reading the chat and trying to teach at the same time. Because we have an x squared, we have to set it equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 56 and that minus x over to the other side. So I'm going to have an x squared plus an x minus a 56. That's all going to be equal to 0. And just to show you guys the steps, I just subtracted that 56 and I added the x over to the other side. You could put the 0 at the beginning if you want to. I just like putting 0 at the end. And yeah, Javon, sometimes with Twitch, you'll have to switch it to like 480p in order to get a better connection. Hopefully you can still see the quality okay. And now from here, we're just factoring. So I'm going to do my 2 bubbles. And in order to get to 56, it's going to be 8 and 7. And we want it to be a positive 1 in the middle. So we know it's got to be a positive 8 and a negative 7. And then we can T-chart to get our 2 solutions. So you'll have x is equal to negative 8 and x equals 7. The only other thing that I have to remind you guys, because we haven't done this for about a month or two now, is when you're solving square root functions, you have to make sure that you are checking for what we call extraneous solutions. Sometimes you'll get those extra answers that are caused by imaginary numbers. Even though we don't see any imaginary numbers here, sometimes you'll get that hidden solution. So we only want real solutions when we're solving this out. So what we have to do, and you could do it with your calculator if you want to, you're just plugging in those 2 solutions to the original problem and making sure that it matches up and it checks. So I'm just going to type it in real quick. I got the square root of 56 minus negative 8. That's going to give us a positive 8. Well, if you plug negative 8 over on the other side, that's not going to check, because you should notice it's going to say 8 equals negative 8. And that's not true. So this first answer, we have to cross off. It is not going to check for us. So we're going to check the second one. Just because the first one didn't work, it doesn't mean that the second one is going to work. So you always have to check it. So I'm going to do 56 minus 7. And that gives me a positive 7. And if I plug that in the other side, that does check. So there is only one solution to this problem. Yeah, I could send this to you right now, Shannon. So you have this, and then just remind me at the end of this. Hold on one second. I got to switch the screen because I don't want to put your email. I'll go back to the starting screen. The last thing I want to do is put your email up, and then random people will just start emailing you. Shannon, I just sent that to you. All right, going back to teaching screen. Okay, yeah, I just heard it go off, Sierra. I don't know if it picked up on the mic or not. So, yeah, what I'll do, Shannon, is afterwards I'll email you the homework. I may forget because I'll start prepping for the Math 12, so just remind me. No, Tabitha, you do not have to show it. What the Regents will probably have you do is just write down the word reject next to the one that you're canceling out. Okay. So now I'm going to do something called complex fractions. So I'm just going to read that part where it says complex fractions. Complex fractions are defined as fractions inside of fractions, meaning we are given a fraction with other fractions in both the numerator and denominator. Though this may look confusing, and this is why we call it complex, we can use the skills from the previous lesson to simplify it out and solve and find that final solution. So I put the 4 steps already on here for you guys. I'll walk you guys through the 4 steps. I'm going to do one problem with just numbers. And then as you guys can see in exercise number 2, we're going to throw in some variables. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find an LCD for all the fractions. Now, I'm hoping that you guys are recognizing fractions inside of fractions. That means that we have one big fraction. So this whole thing is a fraction. but we also have little fractions on the inside. So when we go to look for the LCD, we're focusing on all the smaller fractions, the ones that are focused on the top of the fraction and the bottom of that big one. So our goal is to find an LCD, a number that fits into, or that all those numbers fit into. So if we have 9, 18, and 3, we want to try to find the smallest number possible that 9, 18, and 3 can fit into. Well, if you look at those three numbers, because this is me just talking, I can't ask you a question, I'm going to tell you guys that that smallest number is 18. Because if we come over here and we look at this first fraction of 1 over 9, we can change that 9 into an 18 by multiplying it by 2. And just like we did in the last lesson for the last couple of days, whatever you do at the bottom of a fraction, you got to do to the top. And we're just doing it to that small fraction. If you go to 1 over 18, the denominator already is 18, so we're just multiplying it by 1. Whatever we do to the bottom, do to the top. And now we have to go to the bottom fraction, the 1/3. We can take that 3 and multiply it by 6 and do the same thing to the top. Well, when we do this, we can now write down all those new fractions, which is going to be 2 over 18, because I just simplified that 1/9 by multiplying the 2's in. The 1 over 18 stayed the same. All over, my iPad's freezing up. All over 6 over 18. Well, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the same rules we did yesterday. We know how to add. That's what we've been doing. So if you look at the top part of the fraction, it just says 2 over 18 plus 1 over 18. Well, we already know what that is, because 2 over 18 plus 1 over 18 is really just 3 over 18. And the denominator, we can't combine with anything. So you have 3 over 18 all over 6 over 18. But this still looks really ugly. And this is why we call it a complex fraction. We don't like fractions inside of fractions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it. And hopefully this is going to make sense when I go to break this down for you, because this is what we did in the multiplying and dividing fractions. So I'm going to draw a little arrow. And what I'm going to write is going to be the same exact thing, but I'm going to write it in a different way. So I'm going to write that top number, 3 over 18. But instead of me saying over 6 over 18, I'm going to put down divided by 6 over 18. So what I'm doing is I'm telling you guys that this whole thing right here is exactly the same as this. I just changed this fraction bar right here into this division sign. Because now you guys can solve this. Because remember, when we were dividing by fractions, there was 3 letters that we used in that lesson. And those 3 letters were K, C, F. Well, now I'm going to keep that first fraction. I'm going to change the division sign to multiplication. And then we're just going to flip the second fraction over. Now, you guys may also recall something called cross-canceling. So if you have numbers that are across from each other, you can reduce them. So we have this 3 and we have this 16. Or I'm sorry, 16. Where did 16 come from? 3 and 6. Both of those can be divided by 3. So I'm going to cross this 3 off. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And now if you look at the 18s, that one's easier, because if you have an 18 on the top and an 18 on the bottom, they're just going to cancel each other out because they're exactly the same. So we're left with a 1 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can see everything. And I know I didn't read through all the steps, but I think it's a little bit easier to go through the process of you guys watching me do it first. But we did do all of those steps off to the side. So I'm glad you remember this, Madeline. I don't know if anybody else remembers going through this process or not. Is there any questions with that? We just multiply the tops and bottoms, then simplify. What do you mean by that, Tabitha? When you say multiply the tops and bottoms, I'm not sure. I'm going to show you guys an even easier shortcut. So maybe I won't ask you to type in what you're thinking right now, because I'm going to show you an even easier process that you could have done to find this answer. So here, this is what I'll do. I'm just going to do a little box off to the side, and this is going to be like a little shortcut. Because what you guys will start recognizing is this will happen every single time we solve one of these problems. So if you guys look at right here, this fraction that we had, notice that all the denominators were the same because we found our LCD. So if I come over here, notice what happened when we had the same denominators when we divided. We did keep change flip, and they just canceled out. So a little shortcut that we could do is, as long as all those denominators are the same, because of division, they're actually all just going to cancel out. So on the top, we're just left with 2 plus 1. My pen is going to write. Pen, write. Pen, pen. You're killing me right now. So you'll be left with 2 plus 1. That is not 21. My pen stopped when I was trying to write addition. Oh, now it's starting to write. I see. So we have 2 plus 1 all over 6, which is going to end up being 3 over 6. And if you guys reduce that 3 over 6, it's going to give you that 1/2, just like we did before. So now I'm just reading what you said. So like do the KFC thing and then 3 times 18 and 6 times 18. Yeah, you can do it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. And you should notice that the 18s are going to cancel out, and then you can still do KCF. I'm hoping that little shortcut process that I showed is going to be a little bit more beneficial for you guys, though. And I'll go through this whole process again with 2A to show you guys the same concept is going to work. Okay. Because technically there is an even shorter way, but I'm trying to keep it consistent with the lessons that we've been doing the last couple of days, because I don't want to confuse anybody right now. So I want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable doing LCD, recognizing that if all those denominators are the same, it really means it will cancel out when you go to do division. All right, so let me show you guys with variables now, because it is the same exact process. Nothing is really going to change here other than when we go to do our LCD, it has to have an X in it. So off to the side, I'm going to write down LCD. As of right now, Cassidy, I think I will put that for Friday. But again, you know, my due dates are very, very flexible. So when I go to do the LCD right here, I know if I look at all of my denominators, so again, you're just looking at all the smaller fractions. So we're looking at these 4 fractions right here. So if you look at those 4 fractions, remember what I said the other day? If you have something that already matches, then we know that's got to be in our LCD. Well, we have a 3 and we have an X. So we know that all of the denominators have to have 3x inside of it in order for it to be added together. So my goal is to make them all 3x's. So I'm going to multiply this first one. We're just missing an x on the bottom. The second one, we're missing a 3 on the bottom. The third one on the bottom again is missing x. And that fourth one is missing 3. So now all I'm going to do is just write all of these new fractions, and I'm going to show you guys that little shortcut again. So if I distribute the x in, I should have 2x over 3x plus 6 over 3x all over 5x over 3x plus 15 over 3x. So the shortcut that I was showing you guys in the previous step, if all the denominators are the same in a complex fraction, technically what we're going to be doing is keep, change, flip. So because we have to do the keep, change, flip eventually, all those denominators will end up canceling out. So what we're allowed to do is we're allowed to just cross all of these denominators out instantly. Am I frozen on anybody else's screen right now? Ella, try doing a refresh and see if it will pop back up for you. Yeah, it might just be you, Ella. Just try refreshing it and see if that will fix. You might be having an issue like Javon where you have to change the quality of the video. So like right now I can do like 720p is the max quality I can do. But if you switch it to 480, it might play out a little bit easier. But all right, I'm going to continue on with this. Hopefully Ella will get back on. So when you go to, I hope you guys are seeing that since all those denominators are 3x, technically they would cancel out when we go to do KCF. So I'm just going to skip that step, and you guys are allowed to as well. We can just cancel them out and say that we're going to be left with a 2x plus 6 on the top, and we're going to be left with a 5x plus 15 on the bottom. The only other thing that you guys have to do when you're working with these variables is technically you still have to reduce. So we have to make sure that we're factoring the top and bottom like we've been doing the last couple of days. So on the top, you guys could factor out a 2. And I would be left with 2 times x plus, 2 plus x times 2 times x plus 3. And then on the bottom, we could factor out a 5. And we will be left with x plus 3. Now, because everything is multiplication, this is all multiplying over here. This wasn't all multiplying. Now that it is all multiplying, we can cancel out anything that's the same on top and bottom. So we have an x plus 3 on the top and an x plus 3 on the bottom. So they cancel, and we're just left with 2/5. So some of you guys are going to try to get a jump start on the homework tonight, and you're going to see a lot of simple problems like this. And then what I'm going to do with you guys tomorrow is I'm going to go into, you know what? I think I'm going to keep them all monomials. So that means all the denominators are single terms. And then next week we'll start doing binomials on the bottom. Do you feel comfortable with that shortcut? So note, Tabitha, because we set up here, since the denominators were the same, if we were to do KCF, I wanted you guys to recognize because this second fraction gets flipped over, those 18s are technically just canceling out. So what we're allowed to do is we're allowed to do a shortcut. As soon as you see that all those denominators are the same, we're allowed to just cancel them out completely. So we are doing KCF. We're just doing it off the top of our head instead. We're just not showing the work, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? So I'm just going to do this last one. Same exact process. Okay? So I know some of you guys probably already jumped ahead of me. You guys can go back. You can check to make sure that that answer is right. If you want to get a jump start on that homework, go for it. Like I said, I put a due date of Friday. It's not, and I don't even think I put it on Shobi yet, but that is just a time that I put in. That doesn't mean it has to be due right then at 9 o'clock or you get a 0. Get it to me when you can. All right, so for this one, LCD. So again, we're looking at all these 4 fractions. So we have an 8, a 4x, a 2x, and a 4. So I'm just going to look at the numbers right now. We have 2, 4s, and 8s. So I want to find a number that 2, 4, and 8 all can fit into. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, that number is going to be 8. We also have to figure out how many x's they need. And if you look at all 4 of those denominators, you only have a single x on the bottom. So we don't need any more than one single x. Why is I think my iPad's lagging a little bit. It's having trouble connecting. I have an idea of what I'm doing. I'm just being a little bit more lenient because, for one, I don't want to punish you guys. I know this is a very, very tough situation that we're in, and I don't want to punish you guys if you're turning something in 3 days later, because a lot of you guys are going to have technology issues. There's not much I can do to see or help you with that unless you can connect. So anyways, LCD is going to be 8x. So I know I have to multiply the first one by x. I know I got to multiply the second one by 2, because 4x times 2 would give us 8x. The third one I'm going to have to multiply by 4. And then in that last one, it looks like I got to multiply it by 2x to make it 8x. So I'm just going to multiply everything out now. So I'm going to have 3x over 8x plus 2 over 8x all over 28 over 8x plus 6x over 8x. So if you did everything correctly, all those denominators are the same again. So as I showed you guys before, if all the denominators are the same, technically they're all going to cancel out, because eventually we're going to do keep, change, flip. So I could just cancel them all out right now. So we're going to be left with a 3x plus 2 on the top. And we're going to be left with a 28 plus 6x on the bottom. And I'm actually going to put the 6x first, because I like putting the x's first. If you put it in the other order, it's not wrong. I just like putting the x's first. And then we just have to check to see if we can factor it out. Well, if you have 3x plus 2, nothing you can factor. 6x plus 28 could be factored. We could pull out a 2, so the top's going to stay the same. On the bottom, if we pull out a 2, we should be left with a 3x plus 14. But you guys should recognize nothing's going to cancel out here, so we're good. Either one of these are acceptable answers. So if you wanted to leave it like this, because nothing canceled out, you would be fine. And you can leave it like this and you'll be fine as well. Cassidy, if you want to skip that step, completely fine. Completely fine. I'm just showing it for note purposes. If you guys want to cancel it out up here because you're already going to recognize they're the same, then you don't even have to show the step. Okay? How do you know what to multiply by at the beginning? So Javon, at the beginning, you're trying to get all of the denominators to be the same. So I looked at 2, 4, and 8 because those were the 3 numbers that we already had on the bottom. And what we were trying to do is find a number that 2, 4, and 8 all can fit inside. So I knew that 8 was that number because 8 can fit into 8 once, 4 can fit into 8 twice, and 2 can fit into 8 4 times. As far as the x goes, what you have to do is you always want to try to figure out the largest exponent of x's. Well, in this case, the x is just going to be the same. Switching those doesn't matter. Tabitha, switching what? What do you mean switching those? Can you be a little bit more specific for me? But otherwise, I mean, this is either or. You don't have to write down both of those answers. If you recognize that you can factor those and nothing cancels out, you could just leave it. Okay. When you switch the 6, oh yeah, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So if you wanted to put 28 plus 6x, it's fine because it's commutative property. Okay. So won't it change things if you... No, not because it's addition, it's all right. The only time it starts getting a little shady is if there's subtraction involved. If there's subtraction, then you don't want to do that. But if it's addition, you're going to be okay. Because remember, if you have something that says x plus 1 versus 1 plus x, those both mean the same exact thing. Okay? Erase those because that's not part of that problem. So tomorrow, and I mentioned this earlier if you showed up to my office hours. So I'm trying to do office hours between 1 and, you can't see my finger, 1 and 2 o'clock. Tomorrow, I can't do it between 1 and 2 because I have a meeting with Mr. B and all the high school teachers. So I'm going to switch the office hours to 12 to 1 o'clock. So if you guys have any questions on any of the homeworks that we've been doing all week, feel free to stop by. I've been also setting people up with Zoom. So if you want to show up and you want some help getting into the Zoom channel, I can help you do it without your iPads. I can't do it with the iPads because you guys don't currently have the app. Okay. But yeah, that's all I got. I mean, here's the homework. The homework is just 1 page. Yeah, you could just come and bother me if you want. I have to sit there for an hour because I have to show that, like I'm doing work. I don't know. How about I ask this question? I know I'm making this video last a little bit longer, but has your other teachers been able to contact you guys? Has there been any teachers having trouble getting a hold of you guys? Because we're setting up like a file just trying to figure out which students we've connected with. And I mean, as far as me, I've been able to connect with all of you. Some other teachers said that they haven't been able to make a connection with you guys yet. But this is the homework that I have up. It's just this 1 page. The one thing I want to show you guys on the homework for the people that are here is I'm going to zoom in on letter E. So we didn't do one like this on the lesson, and I didn't plan on doing one like this on the lesson. But if you look at this, it says 2 minus 1 over 2x and 1 plus 5 over x. Those whole numbers, change them into fractions before you start doing LCDs. So put that 2 over 1 and put this 1 over 1. Then try to find your LCD. Let's see here. Not really, but every other teacher just gave us work to do. No, they just email us and give us work. Are we done for the day? I'm trying. No, you're good, Javon. You're good. Yeah, but they give us is more. Blue are using. Who's Palumbo? Other than that, they're okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to check because I'm going to have that meeting tomorrow, and that's going to be the question that Mr. B is going to ask me. He wants to know who I've connected with, who I haven't connected with, and yada, yada, yada. Okay. So I'm going to end there. I got to go get a drink. My throat is killing me right now. Oh, okay. That's who it is. I don't know who Palumbo is. But, all right. Yeah, I'm going to head out because I have to do my Math 12 lesson right at 4 o'clock. We will do a little bit of more of this tomorrow. And yeah, we'll just leave it there. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys soon.